Hey, welcome everybody. It's time once again for another episode of Health Talks with Dr. Trin. The one show that shows you how to lead a healthier life, one bite at a time. Today we're going to bite into a topic that many of you are going to find absolutely scrumptious this morning. We're talking about how insects can turn plastic into food. Is that correct, Dr. Trin?
I believe so. I tried eating my plastic cup last night to see if it worked.
How did that work? Did it taste good? A little salt, a little pepper? Yeah. A little hot sauce?
Didn't taste as well without the habanero sauce. But
so who did you bring along? You got another crazy student. I think he actually just graduated from UCI, who came up
UCLA.
UCLA. I'm sorry, UCLA. Is that it? And he and others that he's working with has this crazy idea that insects can turn plastic into food. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a
bizarre.
It's a bit of a crazy idea, but ultimately we're kind of working with this system that takes an input of plastic and that will ultimately produce fresh, healthy, affordable food. It's not directly turning the plastic into food, so you don't have to worry about eating your plastic bags that you bring home from the grocery store. But yeah, ultimately the idea is to kind of turn this waste into food.
Well, it's a laudable idea. So give us your name, give us the company, and tell us the journey of how you came to create this company as a student.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're still definitely in the process of kind of, creating a company and everything. But I'm George Shenusay. I just graduated UCLA, and I've been working with this group initially called the Mealworm Team.
The Mealworm Team. Okay, I just had to stop you there. The Mealworm Team. That's a cool idea. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like this.
Eating worms? Like eating a worm as a meal? No, it's different, right?
No. I think the worm becomes turns plastic into a meal. It eats away at it and turns it into a meal here. Yeah.
These are all good ideas. And actually, we do have a section of the team is actually dedicated to trying to normalize consuming insect consumption for humans. But the name mealworm comes from the actual species. It's called a mealworm, like MEAL. But I think it's I don't know exactly where the name comes from, but the scientific name is Tinebria Mulvatar. So it's this insect. It starts off. It's actually not a worm. It's a beetle that starts off as this insect with it looks like a worm, but it's not technically a worm.
Only you would know that. Well, we'll just, for the rest of us, we'll just accept that it's a worm. All right, we don't go into the details of bugs here. Yeah.
You thought my ice bath was bad.
Yes.
Now you're eating worms this week.
Eating worms, jumping in ice. I'm lost. We're losing our mind here. Let's get George a little closer to whatever he's talking into here too, because he's a little echoey.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, anyway, we kind of started off as this this club within this larger group called Bruin Home Solutions at UCLA, and they kind of we were inspired from a couple articles that were coming out of Stanford, which is doing similar research on these insects that are able to eat styrofoam, and we kind of just wanted to see if we could create a system on campus that would help with
waste. Yeah.
The styrofoam pollution that like in the mailroom we got styrofoam coming in packages and stuff.
So let me stop you. Okay, so this is just kind of a lark. It's a club. It's something fun. You read a couple of cool articles. There's some kind of weird bug. Maybe it's a beetle. Maybe it's a worm. Whatever it is. And some people have researched that these little bugs like to eat styrofoam. When they eat styrofoam, what do they release? Styrofoam in, what do they poop out? what do they do with the plastic?
Food, obviously, that you eat.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's like usually like hot dogs and hamburgers usually
they poop out hot dogs.
And then
doesn't that be wonderful?
It's just ready to go.
Ready to go.
Yeah, so that's definitely a huge part of it.
But what do they do when they eat the plastic? What happens to the plastic in their body? Do they break it down? Did they turn it into something else?
Yeah, they do both. So the styrofoam, it's a compound. Styrofoam is a brand name, but the actual material is polystyrene, which is a chain of styrene chains, which is basically a bunch of hydrogen and carbon that's just connected together. And one of the main kind of routes that happens when this styrofoam is eaten by the worms is a lot of it is turned into CO2 and respirated out, just like when we eat food, we're starting to breathe that CO2. So, about 48% of the food, of the styrofoam they eat is converted into CO2 and it's respirated out, at least the carbon is. Beyond that,
because I got to stop you.
Actually,
I got to stop you again for one more second here. So I had a little experience a long time ago. I had a client I worked with that made plastics things, and so I had to learn about all these polycarbonates and what I didn't realize is that, I don't think most people realize, that's why I'm calling this out, is that plastic comes from carbon. Plastic originally it came from plant-based carbon stuff. Now it mostly comes from oil-based carbon stuff. So one of the big offshoots of the oil industry isn't just gasoline and oil products, it's plastic products too. Is that correct? They take oil and the carbon in oil and they turn it into plastics of all sorts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we've even seen like an increase of plastic production as kind of this past year, as the kind of the demand for a lot of fuel has gone down, just because there's a lot of this leftover material that they can make plastic with. And the pandemic also, there are a lot of more food and packages were being delivered to houses, so we see this huge increase in plastic being shipped, being used, being created. But yeah, it's a derivative of the process of making oils and any kind of petroleum product.
Okay, so now we found this bug that'll eat it and break down the hydrocarbons, which is what it is, hydrogen and carbon and all this stuff here.
So what is the bug that eats it? It's a worm, right? Is it a worm that eats it?
Oh, don't start again. He said it was a beetle, but it was called a worm. And, yeah.
Well,
a beetle?
Can I show you? I actually have a couple in my room. Could I show, put it on camera?
It's called a worm, but it's more like a beetle.
Yeah, put it on camera. Put it on camera.
So it's not technically a worm, but it's called a worm. That's what I gather.
Well, it's technically a metamorphic species. So it's just like a frog turns from a tadpole into a frog.
Right.
They start off as this. This is a little...
There's one of them. Hey, guy.
That's a little worm.
Dude, that looks gross. Are you serious?
Yeah. So that's a mealworm.
He keeps them by his bed all the time here. He just has these.
Oh, yeah. They keep me company.
Is that your snack? Wait, let me see that again. Hey, Paul, can you highlight?
Dr. Trin wants to see the bug again one more time. He wants to hold the bug up. There he is.
Wait, Paul, can you highlight George's video so we can all see it in big screen?
I don't know how to do that.
Oh, okay. Look, it's a worm.
It's a worm, yeah. Here, I can
So it's a grub. It's the early stage of this little bug. It comes out originally as looking like a little worm, and then it metamorphosizes like something into a butterfly.
Exactly. It'll turn into this
caterpillar into a butterfly. Yeah.
This one just kind of stays still. But it'll be in that form for about a month or two, and then it will ultimately turn into one of these.
What is that? A beetle?
A beetle, yeah.
Yeah, it'll turn into a beetle. So one of these.
So it starts off as a caterpillar, worm, whatever you want to think of it as, and then it goes into a little pupae, and it metamorphosizes.
I've seen those beetles before. I've just never seen them in the worm phase.
Yeah, it's a type of darkling beetle, and there are like thousands and thousands of different types of darkling beetles. It's actually kind of crazy. Apparently, like 22% of the biodiversity on the planet is just beetles. Like there's just an insane amount of beetles. So there's just a ton of. But anyway, this specific type of darkling beetle can eat styrofoam.
And how did somebody discover that they eat styrofoam? Oh wow, how did they discover that this bug likes styrofoam?
I honestly don't know. I don't know what the origin story was. I know people researched it, but I kind of assume, because these insects are sold as pet food, and I kind of just assume kind of the idea that I have in my head is that, someone ordered a shipment of worms, they packaged them in styrofoam, and then they got there and they were just like eating through all of it. That's kind of what I want to believe, but that's not really probably the true story. But yeah, anyway, this is a piece of styrofoam that they've kind of been munching on for a while now. You can see it used to just be a solid chunk, but it's kind of been eaten through, and like they made all these little holes and burrowed into it. But
the worms have to do that, huh?
Yeah.
And it's in the worm stage that it eats it? It's in the worm stage, not the beetle stage.
So the beetle won't eat it?
Both, actually. Yeah, the worms actually eat more because they have to prepare for their metamorphosis. Right. And that takes a lot of energy. So they have to really stockpile that energy. But the beetles will still eat it. It's just they don't require as much energy as the worms do.
So what does this mean for the world, do you think? You're talking about how much styrofoam is created, filling up our oceans, filling up our dumps, every coffee cup, every McDonald's styrofoam cup. We've got 1 billion of them we go through all the time, trillions of them probably. Is this just a way to reduce waste? How do we get this into food? I'm missing the food connection. So we're breaking down styrofoam.
The food connection is obvious, Paul. I mean, you eat the worms.
Is that it?
That's one route. That's one route that we've totally considered. And that's, so there's, when they eat the styrofoam, a portion of it is respirated as CO2. A portion of it is actually processed into lipids that get incorporated into the insect's body. So that's kind of how they build biomass.
Lipids being fat, they turn it into fat and they grow. Okay.
Yeah. And then a portion of it is actually being excreted out as waste. And kind of the waste element is what we're really, really interested in. It turns into the stuff called frass, Frass, which is just a specific term for insect poop, basically.
Insect poop, all right. So you're going to market insect poop. You're going to gather it all up, roll it together, put a little hot sauce on it, and we're going to eat insect poop.
George has a book out with a menu of 101 ways to eat insect poop.
Yeah, right. I like it with a little Chardonnay. I like it.
Chardonnay, like keto insect food.
Yeah, keto insect food. All right, now you're not really talking about this, or are you? You're talking about gathering the poop and eating it? Is that really what you're talking about?
You guys could try that. I don't know if I would go for that route, but the insects themselves you can eat. The poop actually, frass is already, mealworm frass is already sold as a fertilizer or a fertilizer additive. For plants, it's like $6 a pound. And, it has a bunch of beneficial nutrients, and, you can increase the how good it is for plants by, putting it through some kind of composting. But one item it has in it, or one compound it has, is this thing called chitin, which is really good to have in fertilizer, because basically what happens is the plant will kind of sense that there's this material that's come from insects in the soil. And then once it's sensed that, its defense system will kind of ramp up, because it's thinking, oh my gosh, there are insects around, I better grow faster, stronger, and better so I can protect myself against these insects, which is why this works really well as a fertilizer or a fertilizer additive. So the connection is you use the poop from the insects as a fertilizer to grow food-producing plants.
I see. So it's food for the plants, not food for humans.
Exactly. Well, you can eat the insects too. I mean, the insect-based diets are getting more popular in the U.S.
I'm sure that's a coming episode on Dr. Trin's show here. He's going to have us eat bugs.
By the way, guys, I've just shared our live talk here to the Keto 101 diet group.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Eat some bugs. Yeah.
This is a keto idea.
All right. So one of the things, again, I just call this out because I don't think most Americans realize that one of the traditional sources of growing any kind of plant was manure, was poop, particularly from cows and horses and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what's so great about poop, but it has a concentration of nitrates, phosphates, other sorts of things that, so one of the historical ways of recycling poop was to use it as some sort of fertilizer, manure, right? And you're just using bug manure.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can add a lot of input to that. You know why?
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 Because my name's Dung. I can share a lot about poop.
You're a poop expert here.
In your backyard, and then your trees will grow. My Dr. Dung.
But you're really, then we should make a book on that. But
yeah,
you're suggesting that the poop has more than beneficial ingredients, phosphate, nitrate, I don't know, whatever they need. And it seems like always those are the two, phosphates, nitrates, and something else are always looking for to stimulate plant growth. But this actually tricks the plant too, because it has something from a bug the plant recognizes and says, hey, bugs around, get stronger, get tougher, grow higher, whatever. It tricks them into being bigger and better plants.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, again, the actual frass has phosphorus, nitrogen, and potassium, which are kind of the big three nutrients that you look for in fertilizers. But yeah, it has, we haven't been doing all of our experiments in-house, so we've sent the frass off to some agricultural labs and actually gotten the full breakdown of kind of what the nutrient spread looks like. But yeah, it has a lot of beneficial nutrients. It has this thing called chitin. And actually one of the byproducts of this system is the excess like shells or exoskeletons of the insects, which, every couple of weeks, or actually, I'm actually not really sure how often, but the insects outgrow their exoskeleton and have to shed it off. And that has that exoskeleton has a super high concentration of chitin in it. So if you mix that also into the frass as a fertilizer, you can even boost that level of chitin in there.
Now, how in the world, that's a pretty small bug, do I gather up the little bit of poop he puts out and his little exoskeleton, his little dead shell when he grows a new one, like a snake outgrowing his skin? You're going to collect these little skeletons, these little shells, a little bit of poop. What do you got? Little tiny scoopers?
Little vacuum cleaner?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, poop scooper.
Yeah. Is this a new future job for
That's
people?
A potential Amazon product. Poop scooper.
Poop scooper. Is this a future job for people coming out of high school? I'm going to be a poop scooper, a bug poop scooper.
Great.
How do you get it?
Yeah, that's a good.
This is where we're gonna help George scale his business
way up,
so that he can like a pile of poop rather than a little poop.
Yeah, we want to get big.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, how do you get? This is small amounts of excrement, small amounts of material. How do you get that material and turn it into a mass that I can put into fertilizer?
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, we've spent hours and hours doing mealworm farm maintenance, and we've been kicking ourselves, just wishing we could spend our time doing something else, like learning about or like testing stuff, as opposed to sifting through poop and whatnot. But luckily for us, there are actually quite a few mealworm farmers in the U.S. alone.
Really?
That have figured out a lot of this stuff, and one of the best ways to separate out the poop is just use a mesh, just like a screen, because the insects are quite big compared to their poop. The pieces of styrofoam, we actually mix the styrofoam with wheat bran and kind of make it into this like loaf of bread and feed it to them. So that's actually quite a bit bigger than the mesh and the poop itself. So you kind of get everything onto this this like a little sifter, and you can just shake it and all the poop will just fall down into this lower tray. And then one step beyond that is, when you have these kind of multi-leveled farms where you have multiple trays with different insects in them, what you can do is just have the bottom of one of the trays be a screen. And then as the insects are crawling around and pooping, that poop is actually just falling directly down and being sorted automatically.
So it's a poop filter.
Yeah, it's a poop filter.
That's another Amazon product idea.
Yeah, right. So forget about solar farms. We're going to have massive poop farms where we're just going to have bugs eating away at this stuff, and the stuff falls through to the tray below, and we collect it, roll it together, or package it. Dry. What do you do? Dry it and drop it in, or do you roll it? What do you do with the poop after you collect it?
You gotta take it. Yeah, you eat it. You put on a little sandwich and
You know, habanero
what you
sauce.
you
Yeah.
take it. There's one issue that we've run into is that there's actually a little bit of residual plastic left in the manure once it comes out the other side of the insect. Just because the insect's digestive tract is so simple, it doesn't always break down all the plastic. So you have to sift that out, and that's actually a relatively simple process. You just put everything into water. And a lot of the styrofoam, low density styrofoam, will float to the top. Everything else will kind of either dissolve or float to the bottom. And then on top of that, you can put in, a couple different types of oil. And styrofoam is oleophilic. So what'll happen is all this styrofoam will kind of stick to that oil at the top, and you can remove that out, and then be left with just that pure frass with with water.
That pureed poop. Wow.
Exactly. You take the poop, you mix it with water, and that's kind of one of the big markets we're looking at right now is the hydroponics market. So if you can take this kind of liquid nutrient mixture and just insert it into your system, you can just bottle it up, and then you can put it into a hydroponic system. The idea is that would be the nutrients that you would need.
I have a little hydroponic thing at home. If you have enough poop, I'll try it out for you.
Oh, now see, I got to stop you again. So every time I think I know Dr. Trin, he throws some other thing. Oh, I have water. I take ice baths. Oh, now he tells me he has hydroponics in his house. Why the heck would you have? You got a little room with little lights on it, and you're growing things in water here?
No, it's in the backyard. It's it's I don't know. It's kind of like this little tower thing. We don't have to water because it self-waters itself.
Yeah.
And then we have little plants that theoretically we're supposed to eat these plants. It's been a while since we ate it. So they're dying a little bit, but if you want to try the poop in that, I'll put it in there to see the plants grow. Right?
Yeah, maybe we can revitalize your plants with some diluted poop.
That's perfect.
Well, hydroponics has been advocated for years as a solution to farming because it's done indoor, it's done in industrial warehouses, it's done in urban areas. You don't have to go out and lay the fields out. It grows vertically and all sorts of other stuff. Hydroponics has been used to grow marijuana illegally in houses and stuff. Hydroponics is a whole nother topic for a whole nother show. We did a show on it years ago. That's fascinating. Right. All right, so you got this thing. Now you've turned it from this goofy idea. You're sitting around at the campus coffee shop, laughing about this, reading about it. Suddenly you start it. Is this really a company, or is this still a dream right now here?
I'd say right now it's probably somewhere in between. There's still definitely a lot of work that we have to do, but we're a group of about 40 people. We have a lot of students, we have a couple of faculty mentors, we have a couple of alumni mentors. We're working in a lab space at UCLA, developing some of the technology to kind of really make this work quickly. The big thing that's holding us back right now is the actual space that we would need to break down X amount of styrofoam. It is rather space intensive, so we're really working on trying to figure out the best way to do this in a space efficient manner.
Because it's farming, you need a lot of vertical space, a lot of bugs eating stuff, collecting poop. You need a lot of vertical surface here. All right, exactly. How did you meet them, Dr. Trin? Are you guys are another one of these people that's associated with REV HUB, this great organization that tries to fund and help businesses that are going to do good things?
Do you know how we met?
No.
We met because I'm the poop expert, Dr. Dung.
You keep saying that. Clearly, you get all the crappy assignments. I get that.
Yeah. So there you go. I was assigned because it's I can help with fertilizer and dung and things of that sort.
But seriously, is this part of your UCI mentorship program for the Applied Innovation Center? Is that how you guys met?
Yeah. I think we just what we kind of just we're putting connection, and we scheduled a call, and we hopped on for 30 minutes to an hour and just talked about the idea.
All right, so let's talk about the idea of, we'll give a little plug for UCI's BEALL Applied Innovation Center, their Wayfinder program, particularly that tries to find technology, creative ideas on campus, either faculty or students, and turn them into something, turn them into a company, turn them into more than just an idea. What was it like? Are you in the Wayfinder program? Is that what I'm assuming? Am I getting ahead of myself here? So the Wayfinder program is here in the building where I am, down on the secret second floor. Nobody can walk around the second floor. It's a secret what's going on down there. How did you get into this secret program? You applied through what, REV HUB, which is another organization here in the building that helps fund and find these kinds of environmentally friendly startups?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I was just, checking my email one day, and I got an invite to apply to this program from Isabel Bart, who's one of the administrators for the program.
She's wonderful. She's right around the corner from me here in the building. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she's great. And, she said, I really like your idea. Would you want to submit an application? So I just submitted an application. I was kind of doing some of these accelerator program things anyway, and I wanted to kind of I come from, I studied science in college, so I do not know business or finance that well. So I'm really learning in this program myself, but it's been super helpful, amazing mentors. It's amazing facilities.
And how long do you get in there? You get 6 months, I believe, in the Wayfinder program. It's free. They give you mentorship. They don't give you money, but they give you space, and they give you access to people like Dr. Trin and other mentors and experts and other people they think might help grow your business. And eventually, if they like it, there are funders floating around the floor trying to buzz around like bees on a flower that's growing. Oh, maybe I'll pollinate this one here, and with a little bit of seed cash or angel investment or something here. There's a bunch of those, and even the university has a big investment fund that should they like it, they've got money they'll throw at some of these things. Any sniffing around your flower as it's growing? Any bees buzzing around saying, "Let's give you some money"?
I've had a couple people reach out and say that they wanted to invest, but it's not at that point yet, in my opinion. It'd be great to have money. I could work on it full time. That would be super nice. But at the moment, it's just we still have to kind of have a minimum viable product. And until we have that, I don't think I can really have a serious conversation with a serious investor, because they'd be like, "Oh, what's your plan for this? What's your plan for this?" And I'd be like, I don't know. I just have a box of mealworms in my bedroom, and I'm like, we have a farm on campus, and the idea, I think it's more there are a bunch of bees flying around like a seedling, or just something that's just shooting out of the ground.
They're looking they see it's there, and they're going to watch it to see if it flowers. And if it flowers, then they'll come and land. What does it take, Dr. Trin, to take, he's obviously onto something here. We all have a ton of waste, and we're all trying to find ways to eat the oil, eat the plastics, eat this stuff and turn it in. This is not a new idea. People in way, shape, or form have been working on this for years now. It makes sense. Does it make dollars and cents? Does it make money?
Oh yeah, you're in the perfect space, right? And the space we're in is environmental conservation, going green, reducing waste, right? Recycling, especially recycling stuff like plastic, right? And we've all seen the plastic float in the water, and how it's damaging, it's killing the fishes, it's killing stuff. And so plastic to food is right in that space. So the question is, how do you create a business out of that?
Right.
And so they're on their way, right? It's basically a business platform where you show a model, right? A model of what has been done, and a model that works, and then you show the potential, value of what this model produces, and that value is, first of all, there's a social impact. It's not about just a business that makes money, right? This has an impact that impacts us all, right? We're on a dying planet. We're on a planet that's, that's trash everywhere.
It's sick. Yeah. It's we got to heal it. Well, and that's the purpose of REV HUB. We should have Isabel come on with her French accent and tell us more about their mission, because I don't think people know there's enough of this. It's called sustainable investing, or there's another environmental there's a name for it. It's escaping me. But this idea that if I got to invest in something, why don't I invest in something that does good? It doesn't just make money, it does good. And maybe if it does enough good, it'll make a lot of money too, just by definition. That's the whole change in mind. Well, I'd like to do something good, but I'm going to go invest in, this because it makes a lot more money. It might not be that great, but boy, it makes a lot of money. Here's an idea that more and more investors are embracing, saying, if I got to invest and I want to make money because I got excess capital and I want to put it to work and I want to make money out of it, why not find things that help people? And that's the whole REV HUB model here. I think it's a beautiful mission. I think it's one that more and more people would embrace if they really thought about it. There was a thoughtful article years ago that I know this a lot of people turn off, but when I say Al Gore, but Al Gore is big in this movement now, and he wrote an article in the Atlantic, and he said it's not just about feeling better. I could invest in cigarette companies and make more, but I'm going to invest in this and make less. He said, think about it. If you're really having a social impact, you probably are going to make a lot of money because there's a need for that. And you're not going to get in trouble like so many oil companies and other things are always, there's always a downside when the Deepwater Horizon erupts in the Gulf and they pollute everything. And suddenly there's a cost to being irresponsible. There's a cost to being a polluter. And we don't take that into effect. We don't take that into account when we make that investment. Gee, Exxon's making a ton of money. I'm going to invest in Exxon. Exxon's also under attack and being regulated and everything else and paying penalties. Factor that into your investment scenario too. So his idea was that it actually makes monetary sense, not just feel-good sense.
Right. And why would you want to go and throw all your plastics into some large trash dump landfill when you can send it to George and his worms will eat it?
Well,
right?
and let's get practical.
Well,
I'm going to go one step further. We've had Waste Management in here a number of times. They're the big, they've got the big landfill here in South Orange County, not far from where I live, the last one they built. And there aren't any more. Whether you think that's a good idea or not, there ain't any more spaces. We're filling these up so fast. And the land is worth so much money. What are we going to go take multi-gazillion-dollar land and we're going to dig a hole and bury trash in it for 100 years until it breaks down? It just doesn't make economic sense. It doesn't make social sense. Forget about your sense of fair play or what's right or wrong. We're running out of space to put this stuff.
Well, here's the interesting thing about styrofoam, actually. So styrofoam is this super light but very large product. So it takes up a lot of space in landfills. And actually, because of this, I won't get into the details, but styrofoam isn't a recyclable plastic. There are a lot of recyclable plastics, but styrofoam, which is a plastic, is not a recyclable plastic. So in Los Angeles, New York, I'm sure in Irvine, styrofoam isn't, even if it's being sent to a material reuse facility or it's being sorted out, or where these places that take aluminum and sort it out and send it to recyclers, and they take plastic and they sort it out and send it to recyclers. Styrofoam is being sorted out and then sent to a landfill. And not only that, but people who use styrofoam are paying for it to be taken away. You pay for your trash bill, right? And it's a huge thing that you put in your trash. It's it wastes nothing, but it's taking up so much space. You pay for that trash to be taken away, and then people like waste management facilities are paying landfills to put that kind of trash into the landfill. So it's this, you're right, it makes no sense. It's a valuable product still. The only reason we don't find value in it is because it's mixed in with all these other products. But if you separate it out, it has, for my group, for plastic food, it has a lot of value. It's our whole input, So that's kind of the idea. We would kind of maybe intercept that styrofoam on its way to a landfill, ask for a small fee for collection. And that's kind of a styrofoam in, money in. And then on the other side of things, we're producing this fertilizer. So then it's fertilizer out, and that's a product, fertilizer out and money in. So that's kind of the business model that we're looking at. We're getting money to collect our input, and we're getting money to release our output. And that's kind of what we're trying to figure out now, to see if that would financially work.
Because as they say in the environmental movement, our whole consumption model in America, our whole our whole convenience model in America. I don't want to go drink coffee in a cup. I want to take it with me. I want it to stay warm. So we've come up with things just for convenience sake, is that it's not sustainable. We can't do this forever. We're going to run out of land. We're going to run out of petroleum. We're going to run out of all sorts of stuff. It isn't sustainable. So they're trying to find a way to reuse it or reduce it or replace it, because we can't keep doing this forever.
Exactly. Yeah, and kind of like there are all these just super linear forms of production, consumption, use, and disposal. And kind of just what I feel that plastic to food is doing is we're trying to take two of these things, which is styrofoam use and fertilizer use. And, a lot of fertilizer is synthetically generated and a lot of styrofoam is just thrown away in landfills. And we're trying to take those two linear kind of means of production and just looping them together to make this kind of as closed loop as possible system as we can make. And that's kind of our mission.
This may be a silly offshoot, but you say it because you're taking the poop and putting it in water and turning it into a water soluble thing. That's how you separate the styrofoam. Styrofoam floats or clings to the oil at the top, and the poop dissolves or sinks down. They got this water soluble fertilizer, and maybe it's hydroponics. What about like aquariums and fish food and fish farms and everything? Is that something? Is that too silly?
Oh yeah, no. That's, the whole reason actually this team started is because they're in that larger club, Brew and Home Solutions, which is that sustainable environmental engineering club. And there was an aquaponics team, and they're saying, "Oh my gosh, we have a bunch of fish that we need to feed that poop in the water and help grow plants. What if we fed them with the insects that you're growing from styrofoam?" So that's kind of how we started the whole project in the first place. We were just kind of we were part of the aquaponics team, and then we separated out and kind of grew our own. But that's it, kind of exactly right on. If you don't feel comfortable eating the bugs yourselves, you can always feed them to fish or some other kind of animal that helps with the food production system.
Because that's a whole nother, we could do shows on that. Hydroponics and aquaponics, whatever they call it, growing fish farming, where because the oceans are polluted and other problems and populations are breaking down. I was just reading that they're trying to, something about oysters somewhere. They're going to put oysters on barges and reefs and other things. And somehow this helps them from breakdown or helps them from collapsing. And in process, you're creating oysters, you're creating food, you're creating other sorts of, there are all these creative ways to grow food. Yeah.
How do you intercept the styrofoam trash that's going from like a trash truck to the landfill? I mean, do you send like somebody with a hazmat suit to take the treasure out of the trash, right? I mean, is that
yes.
Yeah,
that's the big question. That's one of the big questions we've been kind of grappling with. So where do we intercept this, right? Do we go door to door and say, hey, can we go dumpster diving in your trash cans? Like, can we afford to go door to door and go dumpster diving into people's trash cans? And I think the answer to that is no. And so then you go to the next step, right? The trash truck picks up the waste from residential or company or anything else, commercial. And it brings us to this thing called a material reuse facility, I think, MRF. And that's just this huge automated jungle gym kind of amusement park for trash that just sorts it all out. And there's a company in LA called Athens Services, which is a waste management service, and they have a huge amount of trash trucks and MRFs. And I was talking to them, I was saying, hey, I'm looking for styrofoam. What can you do? And they said, well, in the past, what we did is we would actually sort out styrofoam. Our MRF would sort out, and at the end of the day, we'd have these huge, like, cubic meter bales of styrofoam that they would sell to recyclers. And then we said, oh my God, that would be amazing. Like, that's exact. And their job is they collect it from all the people in LA, and then they kind of get into this one brick, and then they send it off. But that's what they did in the past, and we're kind of stuck now because they don't do that anymore. And the reason is because styrofoam is so light that if you are a recycler and you recycle styrofoam, you take that material, you process it, it processes it down to such a small amount of reusable material because
There's
it's
a lot
so
of air
light.
in it. Yeah, there's a lot of air
Yeah,
material, right?
Right.
exactly. Economically, it doesn't make sense. Just the transporting of styrofoam alone is so expensive
Because
because it's
it's
such
blown
a
up. So a little
lightweight
bit of
material.
styrofoam gets blown up to a large footprint. I got to put it in a truck and drive it around. That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, the one of the names for styrofoam or polystyrene is, or so polystyrene is just the chain, the hydrocarbon chain with the recursive 6 hydrogen, 6 carbon link in it. But styrofoam is not just polystyrene; it's actually this thing called expanded polystyrene (EPS). And that's basically, there's a process that you take polystyrene, and you expand it. You add air, you inject air into it. Actually, I don't know exactly how the process works, but yeah, it's expanded, and a ton of it's super,
Because it's a cushioning
light. It's not
material.
dense at all.
The air makes it cushion stuff. So you see it. You order a put together table from IKEA, and you open up the box, and there's tons of polystyrene, tons of styrofoam in there, and it just cushions it.
Actually, I gotta say, IKEA is doing a great job.
Are they?
I got enough for IKEA. I was there the other day, and I was asking them about their styrofoam because I'm going around to companies in LA, just saying like, "Hey, do you have a bunch of styrofoam that I can use? Like, I'm looking for styrofoam." And IKEA is doing a really good job. They're packaging with just cardboard. They're taking cardboard and making geometric shapes for cushioning. So IKEA is doing a really good job on the.
And people have gone to the airbag thing. It's still plastic, but it has filled with air pockets, so that cushions it. Yes, they are trying to reduce polystyrene ever. In some cities, I don't know if Huntington Beach was one of them. I think they were for a while. I know they banned plastic bags, and then they brought it back, depending if it was left or right in the council. But there are many places trying to ban these polystyrene containers, mostly at fast food restaurants.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's like a kind of a question that people ask me a lot. They say, "Well, is this business going to even be viable if all this polystyrene is?"
That was where I was going. We're banning all this stuff because we know it takes up so much landfill, and
we still drink like those cups, the styrofoam cups, all the time. It's still for sale.
But look at what, for example, Starbucks doesn't sell polystyrene cups anymore. They sell some sort of cardboard cups now. They've moved. A lot of them have been moving to ban this material. So by the time you get us ramped up, will the answer be moot because we've gotten rid of the material?
Well, the worms can eat other things besides styrofoam.
They can. So yeah, the worms. So they can eat other plastics besides styrofoam. So styrofoam is the styrene is the second most used plastic across the world. I think polyethylene is like the most used plastic. So that's water bottles, plastic bags, a lot of cups. And it's not as easy for the worms to eat because it's a rigid plastic. It's not styrofoam. It's not soft. But so how it works is there's a bacteria in the stomach of the mealworms, and that's the bacteria that eats the styrofoam. So that bacteria can eat both polystyrene and polyethylene and other types of plastics. But I will say, like, even if the world woke up tomorrow and just completely stopped using styrofoam, there would already be millions of tons of styrofoam that's sitting in our landfills and in our ocean. That's just, there are huge companies that are just, their whole mission is they take boats, they go out to the ocean, and they collect plastic. So I'm not really concerned about running out of polystyrene because we've been polluting the environment for years. So it's all over the place. It would just make it maybe a little harder to collect, but we're definitely reaching out to companies, like I think Ocean's 40 that do plastic collection, like huge, large scale plastic collection from the mid-Atlantic trash gyre, that thing where it's just that huge, basically the ocean currents collect all the floating trash in this huge...
together like spinning like in a toilet where it all starts to spin together and all this stuff gets sucked into this vortex. And it is like, hundreds of miles long. You go out in the middle of the ocean, there's hundreds of miles of this stuff that has pooled together at this point. We had the Ocean Institute and others. People, because we don't go out there, would be stunned if they saw how much trash is floating around in the ocean, mostly plastic.
That's great. It's great. The ocean is doing a really, really awesome job of just very conveniently collecting it all in one spot for us to deal with, you know? So like if it would be an impossible task if it was spread across the entire ocean. And like, it's still, you know, there's still obviously plastic all over the ocean, but it's
as it goes to the bottom too, as it breaks down, the fish eat it and stuff, then it settles, and that's the part we don't know what to do with here, was it collects at the bottom. But the stuff that's still floating and hasn't broken down yet, that's easy to collect, or easy.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a mind.
And when it breaks down,
what if you make this economically viable by doing this project in maybe another country that is high polluting, trashing their own country, right? I can think of a number of countries that are, you know, that are not like, you know, environmentally conscious, where they have landfills and trash. And, you know, we do medical missions in Peru, and we've done medical clinics right next to landfills, where the kids are walking around the landfills on top of it, looking for stuff to eat and looking for stuff, you know. But there, I can just think of,
so third world countries in Africa, Asia, South America. There's lots of countries that aren't as advanced. They're
maybe a little bit more affordable to do stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely an option. Project. Yeah, that's absolutely an option. Like, everyone uses styrofoam nowadays, but I mean, at the same time, like, the U.S. is not really setting the greatest example for waste management, especially when it comes to styrofoam. So there's a lot of work to be done here, and I think the solution, you know, it can fit in here. I really hope it does.
So what does it take to get to the next level? Do you need more research? Do you need more investment capital? Do you need what is it what's the ingredient missing in your model here right now? What is it, still figuring out what the model is and where to make the money?
I don't think it's where to make the money. I think the number one kind of element that we're missing is a really, like, just kind of taking the idea and making a pilot of it, and figuring out a really fast way to break down the material. So for example, one of the kind of avenues of research we're going down right now to speed up this process is we're building a bioreactor. We have like a first version of it that we have in our lab, and we're working on the second version. But basically what it is it's this gigantic glass tub with the same bacteria that the mealworms have in their stomach, but it's just in there, and there's like a mixer, and the idea is you just would throw styrofoam in and it would break it down really quickly, probably much faster than the insect's stomach. And you know, that's so we need time. We need we worked, it was actually really great. We worked with UCLA, had a capstone, like a senior thesis project with 7 bioengineers, and they helped us make that first model of the bioreactor. But you know, they all graduated and they're doing great stuff. But so we need people who have like an expertise in like that kind of like bioreactor design. And you know, we've been working in like researching and, you know, but
if anybody knows a bioreactor scientist, it's Dr. Dung over here. He knows everybody in town here. He must have pull the Rolodex out, the old-fashioned Rolodex, and flip through it. He's got some bioreactors scientists in there. Maybe.
Yeah, advisory council of crap. Yeah. Since we're talking about junk.
Well, you're all laughing, but crap is the future here. Waste and bio and mass. We got too much junk. We've been consuming and forever, and we can't do it. We can't dump it in the ocean. We can't dump it in landfills. We're running out of space and places to put it. It's causing too much environmental harm. The waste seeps into the land and pollutes the water, the groundwater. It seeps into the ocean, kills the fish, and disrupts the ecosystem. It's a question of space, place, and money. We've come to realize, whether we want to or not, we can't keep consuming and dumping stuff. That's just not a sustainable model.
So 2.0. So 2.0. You know, 1.0 is the worms. 2.0 is actually taking the bacteria out and using the bacteria directly. Is that what you're kind of looking into at this point, or are you still more in the first stage?
So I think kind of our vision for how this goes in the future is it's not a decision between the worms or the bioreactor. It's those two systems working in tandem. And right now we have the bioreactor 1.0. We have a system that you put polystyrene in, it has bacteria in there, you mix it, it turns into water and CO2, and that's great. It's a very small system. It's just a proof of concept. And then the worms, they're already doing their thing, but kind of in the future, one of the main kind of byproducts of the system, as I was telling you before, is CO2, right? Which we all know we don't need any more of the atmosphere. Yeah. So the kind of main focus for the bioreactor 2.0 is creating the CO2 capture system. So like you put the styrofoam in, it breaks it down, the bacteria releases CO2. Where does that CO2 go? And we're really interested. Yeah, exactly. We're really interested in the CO2 because, you know, there are a variety of uses. Hydroponics companies sell compressed CO2 to inject into your water to make your plants grow faster. You could have this system running in a greenhouse, you know, with plants around it. Then you could directly absorb the CO2. There are a lot of different options for how this could work, but that's kind of next step is, you know, the people at UCLA are working on a pilot program on the campus. I'm going to be working on a pilot program doing just the same thing as I was doing, going out to IKEA, asking them about their styrofoam, blah, 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 seeing who, you know, any fertilizer, people that need fertilizer, I would need to connect to those people and love to connect to those people, and people that have styrofoam that they're trying to get rid of need to connect and love to connect with those people.
What about, because we did a show for a number of years and had some pretty high level contacts with waste management here. I haven't talked to them in a couple of years, but they're actually pretty active and pretty forward thinking. You know, they recognize the problem and they realize there's money to be made in trash. They're collecting wood and other things. They're finding ways to take stuff out of the landfill to save money and to make money. A methane, of using it as all this stuff, you compress it and it starts to break down. It releases a gas called methane, like cows do, like we do. And there are ways to burn that methane and use that methane. They're pretty creative about trying to come up with. Have you approached waste management here? I mean, there are lots of companies, but we're in Orange County. They're the big giant here.
Yeah, I haven't actually reached out to the Orange County Waste Management. I'm originally from New York, so I had reached out to New York Waste Management Facilities, and then I went to college in LA, so I reached out to those waste management facilities. So I've talked to people there to get some insights, but yeah, I'd love to reach out to like OC, that kind of area.
Because they are funding stuff. I may be wrong in this, but I got the impression, I'm going on memory here, that they are looking for creative ways, and they have money to invest. And to become seed investors because they've got the stuff. Now, what do we do with it? Historically, we just bury it. Yeah, we got the waste. We figured out how to sort it.
All right, Paul. You got to go through your Rolodex, Paul, and find the waste guys to send over to George.
I think I do. I really seriously think I do know the waste guys. I think I could tell you who the guys are, or at least people that could tell you who the people are. Because
yeah, are they a little crappy?
No,
or not really?
I'm sure they got all those jokes up, but they're actually pretty cool guys, and they are pretty forward thinking. And they've been on the shows before saying we're not just burying the stuff anymore. We're trying to find creative ways to not just reduce the input through recycling, but to reuse the material that's already sitting there just waiting to break down. We're trying to figure out what to do with it.
Right.
All right, cool stuff. Yeah. All right. So eventually we're going to be eating a food that owes its growth to poop from bugs. Plastic.
Yeah.
Let me raise you one. Let me say,
raise you one. I got that one. What do you got? Top that one. Yeah. All right.
All right. 50 years in the future, we transplant the bacteria from these insects into our own stomachs, and then we can just eat styrofoam. Easy as that.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Dr. Trent, come over. We're going to have a little styrene. Wow.
Yeah.
Can we transplant the bacteria now? Do you have like a test subject? Or
are you raising your hand there?
Yeah, there's a lot of, some researchers, they think that a really cool avenue to manage ocean plastics is to actually inoculate or just put the bacteria into, fish and other animals that swim around in the ocean. And then as they're swimming, that's a huge problem. Like there's so much bioaccumulation of plastics in a lot of fish that we eat, like mackerel, tuna, salmon, especially at the top of the food chain. Salmon and tuna have they bioaccumulate microplastics, and
they don't know what it is. They're just going through. They're scooping up stuff. They think it's a bug, and they eat it, and they don't know what it is.
When I'm eating sashimi, I'm eating plastic.
You really are.
There's
truthfully,
probably a good chance that there's some microplastics in there, because what happens is microplastics enter the food chain through the really small fish. So like one small fish maybe has one microplastic, right? But then a medium-sized fish that eats 50 of those little fish a day, in one day will have 50 microplastics. And then, you keep on working up, and that's what bioaccumulation is. Like once you get to, shark or like orca whale, you have huge percentage of microplastics. So one of the ideas that people have had with this bacteria is like, you can put this, it's a little far-fetched, and like maybe creating an ecosystem that relies off of plastic consumption is not the greatest idea for our oceans. But the idea is, you put this bacteria in their stomachs, and then as they're swimming through the ocean, and microplastics are entering into their gut biome, they're not just sitting there, they're actually getting degraded by this bacteria. So that's another option. But that's not, we're not going down that route, but people have thought about that pathway.
That's like 3.0 after 2.0.
Yeah. Well, we got to go back to 1.0. We're out of time here. Fascinating idea. How do people reach you if they are at all interested? Are you available? Are you under secret wrap? And nobody can talk to you except a handful of VCs and Dr. Trin and people like that. Are you accessible?
I'm super available. We have a contact form on our website. If you go to plastictofood.com, there's
the number 2.
Contact us or join us form. You can like send a message.
But let's spell it out again. Plastic and the number 2.
Plastictofood.com.
That's the number 2. That's the number 2.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So plastictofood.com.
We got to teach you to say that all the time here. Plastic 2, the number 2.
Plastic to food. And then we're on Instagram. You can find us plastictofood.com, or plastictofood is our handle. If sending me a direct message on Instagram is easier for you and you're interested, you can totally do that. I think those are kind of the 2 main methods to contact us. And that's also the larger group at UCLA too, and they're a bunch of really awesome.
When do you graduate from the REV HUB Waymaker thing? Are you got?
Is this you, the mealworm team?
Yeah, that's us. Yeah, the mealworm team.
The mealworm team. Okay, you got another follower. I just followed you.
Great.
Last question. How much longer have you got in the Wayfinder incubator program before they kick you out and say good luck?
I think it's somewhere between 4 and 5 months. I'm the second cohort, so I just started. I just met Dong, and I've just been connecting all these people. So we're just getting started at REV HUB, and I'm excited to kind of see the next couple of months where it goes. But I got some more time with them, which is really amazing.
Come on upstairs. You're down on the 2nd floor. I'm up on the 3rd floor. Come on up and see us sometime. OC Talk Radio live from the UCI BEALL Applied Innovation Center. Here's one of those innovations they're trying to apply and turn into. We're all going to look like this. This is eventually what we're all going to become here. Cool hipsters reinventing the world here. That's Dr. Trin.
My Zot UCI glasses.
Yes,
on.
Exactly.
Those are awesome.
All right. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Fascinating stuff. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you'll keep us advised as you move up. I hope this thing doesn't fizzle or fall apart, because it seems like one of the many solutions that people are looking at we need to break this stuff down and to break the chain of just eat, use, throw away. That's not working.
Oh, yeah. Lots of potential with plastic to food for sure.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing how this all develops over time.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Nice to meet you, Paul. Nice to see you, Dom.
All right, there you have it, guys. One more reason. Hey, Health Talks. It isn't just about how to eat healthier. It's how the worms and the bugs can eat healthier and make us healthier by getting rid of all this crap that we're throwing around and waste managing. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio. Streaming live from the Cove here at University of California, Irvine, BEALL Applied Innovation Center. With shout outs to REV HUB. in the Wayfinder program.